July 8th, 2026. And we'll give it a few minutes for people to join and we'll get started. And another hot day in Tennessee today. All right, we got a few people. We'll give it another minute or so. Good to be back. I know we've been away for a couple of weeks. Hope everybody had a fun 4th of July weekend. Went to the fireworks store on Friday, July 3rd, and I was the only one that did not have a shopping cart. I mean, they were buying fireworks like they were giving them away. Unfortunately, fireworks aren't the same as they used to be when I was a kid. You can't get real M80s anymore, or blockbusters, or cherry bombs, but it's still fun. And I want to congratulate the winner of another optic, and that was Luca. He won the highlight uh, laser light. And Common Sense Karen, hello. Thank you for joining. Hope you had a great 4th of July. I know I did on July 3rd after almost a month's wait. AG, welcome. Good evening to you, too. Uh, After about a month's wait on July 3rd, my new Cult Delta Elite came in. I did pick that up, but we had out of town guests for 4th of July, so I didn't have a chance to shoot it yet. But I will be taking that to the range for sure this Saturday. I just couldn't believe nobody had those things. It took almost a month. And I picked up some Wilson Combat mags for it. I'll give it another minute or so before I go through the gun news because I don't want to have to repeat it. So if anyone has anything they want to discuss, just type it in the chat and we will do that as we're waiting for other people to join. So if you're following the gun news, thanks, Common Sense. I wanted one of them for a long time. And Tin Can, welcome. Thanks for joining. All right, so in the gun news, I live in the great state of Tennessee, and effective July 1st, we are now allowed to use deadly force to protect personal property. So if you think my shit is worth more than your life, then that's on you. There's a couple cases coming up that are going to be huge. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the case on AR-15 bans and to determine if states can pass their own gun laws to ban them. Now, being this is the Supreme Court, if this rules in our favor, which I really think it will, because Clarence Thomas and Kavanaugh have been supporting the Second Amendment, if the Supreme Court does rule that states cannot pass their own laws to ban AR-15s, that is a home run. Well, that's the problem there, Tin Can. See, we need these cases heard by the Supreme Court, because if the Supreme Court rules on it, then it goes nationwide. Individual states should not be able to make up their own gun laws. And I'm hoping that that's what the Supreme Court rules on the AR-15. So states like New Jersey and California and Illinois, if this is deemed by the Supreme Court that states can't make up their own gun bans on ARs, it'll allow people in every state. Hey, Randall, thanks for joining, brother. Another big win was that the communist governor of Virginia, she signed a bill making assault weapons illegal, but a judge temporarily blocked that. Now, I wouldn't get that excited because it wasn't struck down, but still, he blocked that. And that's another case where the Supreme Court needs to rule on things like this. And while they're on the AR ban, another thing they need to take into consideration, hey Duke, what's up, brother? Another thing they need to take into consideration are magazine restrictions. If the Supreme Court rules in our favor and says that states can't pass their own gun laws to ban them, then they also need to recognize that a 30-round magazine is not high capacity. That is standard issue on an AR-15. High capacity was something that was made up by the liberals, right? It's just like Duke. If you live in New Jersey and you own a Glock 20, you can't have the 15-round magazine. It's not high capacity. It's standard issue. That's what came with the gun. But New Jersey ruled anything over 10 rounds is high capacity. So we're hoping that the Supreme Court rules in our favor on a lot of these things. Another important one is that the NRA is suing California over the Glock ban. And I'm confident with that as well, because the NRA's position on that is you can't take an entire company's product line and say you can't buy these. They didn't single out a Glock 19 or a Glock 17. They took the whole Glock product line. The Supreme Court needs to rule on that. And that'll fix states like Connecticut, New Jersey, Illinois. And Don Trump, hello to you. Thank you for joining. So you missed it, Duke. My Colt Delta Elite, after a month, finally came in. Didn't get to fire it yet, but I will test it out this weekend. Took about a month for it to come in. Apparently, they're very difficult to get because they're not mass produced. I agree, common sense. Glock should. Hey, there's Ozzy. Just talking about you, brother. Can't wait to see that holster for that Delta Elite. Yes, Glock should sue those states for damages. You can't take an entire company's product line and say that they're all illegal. So I'm hoping that the NRA makes some headway with that. But this is why I tell you guys, we need to fight every day. I'm constantly harassing. Thanks for that there, Randall. I'm constantly harassing my representatives. Even though Tennessee is a very gun-friendly state. I mean, we just passed that we can use deadly force to protect personal property. You never know. One election can change all that. That's why we need to have these things settled by the Supreme Court. There's just so many things that the Supreme Court should be ruling on, such as high-capacity magazines, reciprocity, and they're going to have to do something about that because, hypothetically, just say the Supreme Court rules that you don't need a permit to carry in another state. As long as you have a permit from your state, you can carry in every state. Well, then they're going to have to make it where there's either no magazine restriction, or if you carry, you should be able to carry with the magazine that's legal in your state. Okay? I live in Tennessee. You can't have me be able to carry a firearm driving in my car in New Jersey and get arrested because they have a 10-round magazine restriction. There's a lot of works that's got to go on with that stuff. I appreciate that, Randall. But the national reciprocity and the mag restriction is something that definitely has to get ruled on by the Supreme Court. You're legally carrying a firearm and you're going to get arrested because you go to another state that's got a 10-round restriction. And I still don't understand why they even have magazine restrictions. If you're deemed competent, qualified, and legally authorized to own a gun, then why are they restricting how many rounds we could carry? It's almost like some politician somewhere decided, well, 10 casualties is acceptable. 15 is too many, so we'll make it 10. It just doesn't make any sense. It's stupid when you think about it. You're allowing law-abiding citizens who've passed background checks and training to carry, and you're going to tell them you can only have X amount of rounds in your gun when, again, the bad guys have no restrictions. And sorry, Ozzy, but The fat bastard you got as your governor over there in Illinois looks like Fred Flintstone. Um, Again, they're always coming up with new gun laws. And how many people got killed in Chicago 4th of July weekend? It just never ends over there. And I was watching a video the other day in South Carolina where these kids took over a beach and they assaulted a female officer. Now, number one, I don't know why that female officer was by herself, but they assaulted her. They beat the crap out of her. I don't know why when backup came on the scene, I don't know why they didn't just start shooting live ammo at them. The hell with the taser. They should be just getting live bullets. And this stuff with these teenagers just taking over streets. I mean, they got to start arresting the parents and holding parents accountable. For those who were on the stream a couple of weeks ago, I did get the limited edition SIG P365 candy green with the bronze grip. Haven't fired that either, but I like it a lot. And I just purchased some Magpul AMAGs to try with that. I'm not a big fan of aftermarket magazines, but $27 a piece versus 50. Even if I just use them at the range, that's fine with me. But I'm gonna test those out this weekend too. But from the looks and feel of it, I really like that P365 X Macro. I'm even going to bring my Glock 19 to the range and compare the two of them and then do a video comparing the 365 to the 19. Without firing it yet, I already like the 19. I already like the P365 better, but I'll have to shoot it. Also, can't wait to fire that Delta Elite 10 millimeter. I wanted one of those things for a long time. Yeah, I agree, Duke. All right, Randall. Well, thanks for joining. Welcome back again. I'm sure we'll see you again, or I'll be in touch with you in the comments. But I appreciate you being here, brother. As always, have a good evening. So now the question there, Duke, I'm still on the fence about getting the 250th anniversary Ruger 1022. And every time I want to get something like that, I wind up getting something else, like the Delta Elite. I could have bought 4 of those Rugers for that price, but I'm glad you shot your Ruger. That is a fun gun to shoot. But yeah, I'm still on the fence about that Ruger 1022 250th anniversary with the walnut stock. But then when I think about that, then I think about, I bought the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 millimeter. They came out with a 10 millimeter, and I was pissed I didn't wait, like always, because I'm like a little kid and I get impatient. So maybe I'll get that in 10 millimeter next. Yeah, that's a good thing for you to do there, MDEC. Yeah, Colorado, Virginia. I would buy as many guns as I could afford right now. I knew you'd love that Glock 20 there, Duke. That is one of my favorite 10 millimeters, but I got to tell you, I'm really liking this Delta Elite. I'll find out Saturday when I take it shooting. Um, I'm anticipating it's going to shoot a lot softer than the Glock 20 because it's a steel frame. It weighs about 36 ounces. Um, but we'll see. Can't have enough 10 millimeters. You know, I bought that Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0 in 10 millimeter, and I like that a lot. So, yeah, we got Colorado, California, Illinois, Rhode Island, New Jersey. Now you got Massachusetts and Connecticut, and it never stops. Yeah, I agree with you there, Duke. I use the True Glow TRX Pros. They're awesome sights. Matter of fact, when I used to buy a Glock, because I won't buy them anymore, the first thing I did when I used to get a Glock is change those plastic sights. Yeah, that would be a good thing to do there, Mo. And speaking of the Talon grips, Duke, yeah, I got them too. I just put a set on the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0. That's one of my favorite guns, but it's not one of my favorite guns to shoot or carry. The stippling is so aggressive that um, after 50 rounds, it's just not comfortable. And when we went to Nashville, I carried that for a week, and my whole side got all scraped up. So um, I got the Talon rubber moss grips, put them on. It already feels a lot better. I haven't tried it out yet, but I don't need to because I know how bad it was. All right, guys, this stream is your stream. We do this for you guys. So if there's any topics you guys want to discuss, put them in the comments and we'll talk about them. I'm sure you guys get tired of hearing me babble on and on. Those that are new on the stream today, we do this stream every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, and every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern. That's a good question, Duke. What I do is I wear my um, I wear my prescription eyeglasses, right? And then I bought a pair of shooting goggles that I wear over my eyeglasses. Um, it's not perfect, but it works. But I'm I'm at the point where there's sometimes when I wear my glasses, I have to take my glasses off to see the rear sight. Um, but Wiley, I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that make them. I don't know if any of you guys out there use prescription shooting glasses, but if you do, we'd like to hear who you get them from. Now you need to start reloading 10 millimeter, Duke. You're going to go through 10 millimeter like candy with that Glock 20. I meant to go to Bass Pro last weekend. We had family from New Jersey here um, over 4th of July, and there was just so many things to do. Didn't have time. But the last time I was at Bass Pro, they had large pistol and small pistol primers for $49.99 a thousand. That's like pre-pandemic prices. Well, that's good, Duke. That's good. I'm glad it worked out for you, brother. That's why I have two sight pushers. I have one for Glock and then I have a universal one. Um, I always put night sights on every gun I buy if they don't come with night sights because you might be in the dark and you need your gun, right? Well, you know what, Duke? That's actually a good thing. Practicing in poor lighting is actually a good training exercise. You know, it's the fluorescent lighting. Hey, Nikki loves pasta. How you doing there, brother? Um, yeah, the fluorescent lights could make those sites look a little wonky. Um, the week before 4th of July, I did not do the stream, and that's because I took another NRA instructor class, and this was the um, personal protection outside the home and defensive pistol. And that was an awesome class. Shot about 250 rounds. Um, we learned to shoot from behind cover, uh, moving, shooting while we're moving. Uh, it was just an incredible class. Drawing from a holster and shooting from the hip, everything you would do out in the real world. Um, if you carry a firearm, I can't stress enough that you should look into something like the NRA Personal Protection Outside the Home class because um, if you take the NRA Basic Pistol class, that does not really prepare you for being outside in the real world. Um, we did a lot of drills and relays that you just can't do at a normal gun range. And then to practice shooting in the dark, uh, we used welder goggles because it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That class was brutal. It was 2 days. It was Saturday and Sunday from 8:30 in the morning till 5. It was probably about 92 degrees out. It, it was just brutal. But I learned a lot in that class, and it gives me another uh, certification I can teach. So now it gives me personal protection outside the home and defensive pistol. Um, I just can't stress enough how important training is. Even if you're an instructor, um, I am an NRA instructor and I still get training. Yes, night sights are amazing. And, you know, the problem with shooting skills is that they are perishable. And even as an instructor, my instructor is always pushing me beyond my limits to make me a better teacher. Um, and it's just something that you need to practice more. Um, a lot of things we learned in the defensive shooting class, you don't really get to do. Um, you know, one part of the exercise was shooting from sitting in a chair and on a bench. Um, you can't do that at the gun range, right? But it's got a real world application. You may be sitting in the park on a bench feeding the ducks, and some lunatic runs out, starts shooting people. You could be in a doctor's office sitting in a chair, or at work sitting in your chair. Um, it's a lot of scenarios and a lot of drills you do in a defensive pistol class. And I got to tell you, my mindset really changed after taking that class. Hey, garage guy, welcome. Um, After taking the defensive pistol classes, um, I threw away everything I do at the range. It's just nothing at the range is applicable. You're not going to be facing a target head on like you do at the range. At the range, I never see anybody shoot weak hand. Um, we were forced to shoot strong hand and weak hand with support and without support. Um, Everything we did was a challenge to us. And they're just things you don't practice. Even shooting from a holster, right? When I go to the range, now I know when I lived in New Jersey, they wouldn't allow you to fire from a holster, right? But what I notice at the range is people are practicing drawing from their holster. They draw, they shoot, and they slam that holster back in, that gun back into their holster. They they never, after they take the shot, you never see them scan and assess to look for other threats. So that's all I'm saying is that defensive shooting is a whole different animal than target shooting. Um, After taking defensive pistol classes, my take on it is um, most people go to the range to shoot. I go to the range to train because I train for defensive pistol. Um, and all I care about is hitting center mass and give a rat's ass about hitting a bullseye or number 7, uh, number 8. Matter of fact, in defensive pistol class, they're not even allowed to put numbers on the targets. They're just silhouettes. And all you have to do is hit center mass. You don't get scored on points. And that's how it is in the real world. You see people training at the range, right? And they compensate. They get one bad shot, and then they screw around and they get a good shot. There's no do-overs in the real world. You get one chance at it. So you're also not going to have all day long to shoot like you do at the range. But that's just my 2 cents. If you guys haven't taken a defensive pistol class, I highly recommend it. And we don't know everything. And you'll be surprised when you take that how much you didn't know. Hey, Mark, hello to you out there in Mississippi. Hope you're doing well tonight. And like I said, we do this stream every Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, every Saturday at 12 noon. If you haven't done so, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'd appreciate that. I agree with that, Mel. However, it's not just shooting a silhouette standing in place, right? In a gunfight, you're going to probably be moving. The target's going to be moving. So what we did is we had 8 targets lined up, and we had to shoot on the run at about 8 targets, which is really cool. Because, like I said, going to the range does not prepare you for self-defense. And most people I see at the range, and I observe everybody at the range, not only as an instructor, but as a range safety officer, I don't see anybody at the range scanning and assessing for threats, shooting weak side and strong side, shooting single-handed. And when they do shoot from using a holster, they shoot and they slam that gun right into the holster immediately. It's not their fault. They didn't train for defensive pistol. And I'm just saying, I highly recommend everyone take at least one class. I mean, learning is a never-ending thing. We never learn it all. It's a constant journey, and like I said, even as an instructor, I have an instructor I go to that helps me keep my skills sharp. I saw, I think it was Birchwood Casey at Smoky Mountain. They have these um, 3D silhouettes that look really cool. And I wanted to get a couple of them and bring them to the range with me because, um, number one, it's a 3D silhouette made out of like, I don't know, it looks like paper mache. So you could really see the holes. Um, and it would make shooting a lot more fun. But they're a little steep. I think they're like $20 for a 3-pack. Um, but it's all about fun. That's also why dry fire training is so important. Because when you dry fire train at home, you can also practice a lot of things you can't do at the range. And if you're not dry fire training, you should be. Because dry fire training is where you're doing most of the heavy lifting. When you go to the range, all you're doing is validating on paper that your dry fire training worked. I also like using the LED targets. Again, as opposed to dry fire training with just one target on the wall. I have about 6 LED targets and I randomly place them throughout the room and shoot those. Um, I also put a couple in a room, or I'll have my wife do it so I don't know where they are, and practice drills to sweep a room, um, not knowing where the targets are. So that's a lot of fun too. Yes, I brought that up. I don't know how to pronounce that. Wayne Gavin. I brought that up earlier. I'm happy, but you got to remember that's not permanent. Um, that's only temporary. What we really need is the Supreme Court to rule on that. And like I mentioned earlier, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case on AR-15s and whether states can pass their own laws to ban them. If the Supreme Court rules that states cannot make up individual laws to ban AR-15s, that would be huge across the country. I'm glad that that jackass in Maine dropped out. I mean, what was he thinking? Hey, Chris, welcome. Thank you for joining. I mean, it really scares me. Where did they come up with these people? This jackass in Maine, and then you got that communist in Virginia. God, if these people could take that one back, I'm sure they would because um, it's not just the AR ban. She's just a lunatic. Oh, right, yeah, and you got that Middle Eastern lunatic and uh, that lunatic governor in New York. Yeah, garage guy, you wait and see how long it's going to take in a month in Virginia. And I live in Tennessee, and I could tell you a background check for me never took more than 30 seconds. Yeah, that's true. They are all communists. I mean, that mayor of New York City should have already gotten voted out of office, but apparently people like it. That's the problem. They like Fred Flintstone over there in Illinois. Um, they love Gruesome Newsom in California. Um, but you have to wonder the mentality of these people. I mean, these people can't really honestly believe that these mental patients that they're voting for are making this a better world to live in. You know what? You know what, Mame Gavin? Uh, that's actually not true anymore. You see, the liberals for the past 10 years have been calling themselves socialists. They're not socialists. They're communists. They've never been socialists. Only people just didn't notice it until now. It's getting worse and worse. They are definitely not socialists. They're communists, that's for sure. Yep, I saw, you know, like I say, I'm a data guy by trade. I analyze data. So I love analyzing firearms data. And in the month of June, I think Virginia did something like 240,000 NICS checks. Now, I don't know how many failed, but that's a lot. Well, there's no difference between socialism and communism the way the liberals are playing it, that's for sure. And I just, I thank God every day that Tennessee is a gun-friendly state. The funny thing about it is the liberals all hate guns, right? And they're all against guns except when it comes to shooting our president. Then they like guns. Well, that's too bad, Chris. But anyway, a lot of these individual things need to be ruled by the Supreme Court, just like that vampire bill in Hawaii. Um, or it's never going to hold up. I mean, Duke, you live in New Jersey, right? Um, Look at the stupid shit they did in New Jersey. If they want to make it a felony in New Jersey, if you have a negligent discharge with your firearm, garage guy, uh, you definitely should come to Tennessee, bro. Moved here from New Germany about 8 years ago, and I love the state of Tennessee. Very gun friendly. We don't go through the NICS system. They have their own system called TICS. Um, I don't know how all these people that are gun owners stay in these states. I mean, I get it. You have family there. You know what? My wife and I had family in New Jersey too. We left anyway. And then you have states like New Jersey that, because of the Bruin case, they didn't want to get sued. And good for you, Randy. That's a good place to live too. So New Jersey started issuing carry permits, but the ironic thing is after the Braun case, they actually lost rights. They have sensitive areas that you can't carry in. So you're standing on the street and you go to cross the street and there's an event or a parade, and that's illegal. Um, yeah, you know what, Chris? The ironic thing about South Carolina, I mentioned it last week. There's a HOA in South Carolina that passed ruling that you can't carry a firearm in common areas like the pool, uh, the lobbies, hallways. So basically, you're only allowed to carry a firearm from your unit to your car. And I just find it very ironic in South Carolina. I actually did not. And to be honest with you, the laws the laws in regarding AR pistols, even law enforcement doesn't know what they are. So technically, we're allowed to open carry handguns in Tennessee, right? So theoretically, I could carry my AR pistol in public, but you really want to go there? You're going to have some Karen calling up the police saying there's some guy running around with an AR-15, um, and then you'll spend all afternoon trying to get out of jail for something that's not even illegal. Well, it doesn't matter for me. Um, uh, Wayman Gavin, my AR pistols are 7.5 and 10-inch barrels, and so is my 300 Blackout. So they are pistols. You know what, though, Garage Guy? It's a long time until the next election, brother. I mean, fortunately, uh, like I always say, I fight for our rights every day. I constantly harass my representatives. Um, but, our rights are just, they're always one election away. Hey, Libra hope all's well with you. Thank you for asking. Hope you're having a good day as well. This is why we need more of these cases to be heard by the Supreme Court. Because when the Supreme Court hears these cases, then they're national. Yeah, that Draco will work. And they got to stop, they got to put an end to this nonsense where every state gets to make up their own stupid shit. Well, congratulations on you for your first day of quitting smoking. I don't know. I don't have the willpower. I've tried it many times, and uh, I smoke my cigarettes. I like them, I guess, like they say, you have to really want to quit. Well, in the back of my mind, I really don't want to quit, um, even though I say I do. What I've been doing though, um, I'm not allowed to smoke at work, and I'm not allowed to smoke on company property, right? So what I've been doing is I've been using cinnamon flavored toothpicks to get me through the day. Um, so since I started this job, where I have to actually go into work every day now, um, I did cut my smoking way down because I worked at home for 12 years. And let me tell you, all I used to do was sit at my desk, smoke cigarettes, and drink coffee. And now I sit at my desk and drink coffee all day, but the only time I could smoke is lunchtime. Um, I bought a brand new truck, so I don't smoke in my truck. So now I don't smoke on the way to work or on the way home. So it's only after I get home. My wife quit smoking about a year and a half ago. So I don't smoke in the house because of her. So I probably went from 2.5 packs a day to a half a pack. Um, yeah, Duke, I got the Nissan Frontier SV. Yeah, I had a hard time there, Duke. Um, I was looking at the Tacoma, the Colorado, and the Canyon. The F-150 is way out of my price range, um, and I'm happy with the Frontier. Comes with a big six-cylinder, 3.8 liter, and that's all you can get. You can't even get a four-cylinder. So yeah, actually, Tennessee does allow smoking in bars. They don't allow you to smoke. Marijuana is not legal in Tennessee, though. All right, Rexy, you know what? I think it's time for you to go. Bye bye. Yeah, I always wanted a Dodge Ram, right? So when I was looking at pickup trucks, I took a look at the Dodge Ram, and no way am I paying 65, $70,000 for a pickup truck. That's not going to happen. Yeah, you know what? I'm surprised that it took this long. I got you, Libran. Well, the Supreme Court did rule now, though, that if you're a marijuana user, you can own firearms. Yeah, well, that's the problem is that all the liberals are in Nashville, Memphis, and Knoxville. The whole rest of the state is all red. So, yeah, the F-250 is badass, but that's just way out of my price range. Matter of fact, oh, yeah, in Chattanooga, too. But where I am, fortunately, they bleed red. So, yes, the Supreme Court ruled, it's still a slippery slope there, right? Because unless they change the FFL form, you still have to answer that question: do you do drugs? And Tennessee, for example, is not a. All right, Chris, thanks for joining, brother. You take care. Be safe. Um, so, Tennessee, marijuana is not legal. Okay. So, you can get arrested for possession. You can get pulled over for DUI. You could lose your job if you piss dirty. but you're still allowed to own a gun. But you may be able to own a gun, but you may not be able to buy one because until they change that FFL form, you still have to answer the same question Hunter Biden was found guilty of lying on. Well, alcohol's a drug too, but apparently you're allowed to be an alcoholic and own guns. I mean, I guess their logic is people that smoke marijuana are not a harm to themselves or others. I've looked at data, and somebody smoking marijuana has a very, very, very low automobile fatality rate compared to alcoholics. I get that, but it just cheeses me off that that's what the Supreme Court is going to rule on. That's where they're going to hang their hat. The Supreme Court could have ruled on national reciprocity. The Supreme Court could have ruled on high-capacity magazines. And what do? They do one for the potheads. I mean, I don't have anything against somebody that smokes pot, but, they call that a major win. It's not a major win for me. I don't smoke pot. And I'm just saying, out of all the things the Supreme Court could have ruled on, they take the one to say that it's pot. But I guess you got to look at it as a win is a win, especially when it comes to our Second Amendment rights. We haven't had many lately, but there's a lot of them on the back burner that are picking up a lot of momentum, especially that the Supreme Court agreed to hear cases on whether states can pass their own AR-15 bans. That would be a huge win. All right, it's 8:45. We do end this stream at 9 o'clock. If you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate that. And we do this stream for you guys. So if there's a topic or there's anything you want to discuss, questions, you know what? I disagree with that, Wayne. I'm a huge Trump fan. I voted for him both times. I'd vote for him over and over and over again. But honestly, he hasn't done jack shit for our Second Amendment. 2 years ago, I went to the NRA convention in Dallas, and he was talking about national reciprocity back then. You can't make promises you can't keep. And honestly, when you think about it, what did he do? I mean, he talks a good game about being pro-Second Amendment. He hasn't done anything. First thing he should have done is got rid of that damn filibuster. And if you think about it, I mean, I don't know how old you are, but RFK, even though he was a Democrat back then, he would never have run under the party today. He belonged to the NRA. He was an average shooter. I'm just saying. I mean, I love Donald Trump, but he does have a big mouth sometimes, and he promises things he can't deliver on. 2 years ago, he promised national reciprocity. It's never going to happen. The liberal states are never going to go for that. Yes, his DOJ is suing states all over the country, and he cleaned house at ATF. That should have been done anyway. I do not have a HK CC97. And I get you, Christopher. I get that he can't do it, but the Republicans should do that. And they should have done that from day one. AG, to answer your question, I don't own that particular one. Um, HK does make very reliable guns. Yeah, I agree, Wayne. I mean, I live in Tennessee, and our governor here, Governor Bill Lee, is he's a rhino, I'm sure. And same thing with Marsha Blackburn. She's a rhino. You know what? You know what, Chris? They're heading in the right direction, right? Um, but this all has to go before the Supreme Court. Yeah, and another thing that Bill Lee did, Tennessee has this stupid intent to go armed law on the books, right? Well, the courts ruled that the intent to go armed is unconstitutional and unenforceable, and Governor Bill Lee and the Attorney General appealed it. So, what's really weird is Governor Lee signs a bill allowing the use of deadly force to protect personal property, but he won't give up that damn intent to go armed bill. Yes, I know it's an old law and it is contradictory, especially that we're a pseudo constitutional carry state. But if you get a sheriff that or a cop that wants to make an example out of you, the law is on the books. I just don't understand why, when the court ruled that it was unconstitutional, why Governor Lee didn't let it go. Yes, Trump did try to take guns away from marijuana users. The Trump administration was not happy about that ruling. That's not something Trump pushed. I can tell you for a fact that the Trump administration was not happy about the fact that marijuana users uh, can do that. And let me tell you something else, Wayne. Marsha Blackburn is just as bad as him, just as bad as Bill Lee. Only being Donald Trump endorsed her, she'll probably win, but I haven't seen Marsha Blackburn mention one thing about the Second Amendment. I agree, Chris. The sheriffs don't report to anybody. Um, Sheriffs report to their constituents, so they are our best line of protecting the Second Amendment. Yes, Wayne, she is a front runner, a big front runner, only because Donald Trump endorsed her. Doesn't mean she's the best out there. For me personally, I'm going with Monty Fritz. And she's like 90 years old on top of that. Now we got about Wayne. I've been looking at all three candidates: Monty Fritz, John Rose, and Marsha Blackburn. Now, I've written Marsha Blackburn, and I asked what her stance is on the Second Amendment. She never answered me. Monty Fritz did, and John Rose did, and they both are big Second Amendment supporters. Just like our representative, Diana Harshaberger. She's a huge Second Amendment supporter. And I wrote Marsha Blackburn asking her what is her stance on the Second Amendment? Because I can't vote for someone that doesn't support the Second Amendment. She never answered me. So she does not have my vote. Big deal. That's not enough for me. Well, you know what? A commitment is absolutely necessary when we're talking about the Second Amendment. I'm sorry, but if I'm going to vote for you, Second Amendment is very important to me. There's a lot of other little bullshit things I could care less about, but to me, Second Amendment is way up there on the list. And if you can't answer me or even bullshit me and tell me you support the Second Amendment, I can't vote for you. I mean, I get that they're all lawyers, but yeah, so Duke, in New Jersey, I understand that if you have a negligent discharge while you're carrying your firearm, you can be charged as a felon. New Jersey is like they're doing everything they can to take your guns away, even though the Braun case. Um, I don't. I still have a lot of friends that live in New Jersey, and I don't know one of them that got their carry permit yet because there's so many places you just can't carry. Yes, and I agree with you, Roger. But you know, the funny thing about it is the Second Amendment defends the rest, but why is it that it's only the Second Amendment you need a permit or a license for, and it's only the Second Amendment that's different in every other state? Can you imagine moving to a different state where you couldn't take the fifth, or you couldn't speak, or you couldn't have illegal search or seizures? They just happen to pick the second most important one to go after. And I don't understand how the Supreme Court never just put their foot down and said, back off the Second Amendment. It's always under attack. You shouldn't need a license or a permit for a God given right. Yeah, you would, Duke. If you were illegal in New Jersey, you'd get a driver license, you'd get medical insurance, you'd get free college. But yes, that's why, Roger. That's why the Second Amendment is under attack. See, because if they create a unarmed society, then they can take all the other amendments away. That's the start, and that's what the libtards do. Let's start with the Second Amendment. Take everybody's gun rights away, have an unarmed society, and then we can make them do whatever we want. Because it's still the only amendment that you need a license or a permit to exercise. That just should not be. No, you can't trust the court to make the right decision. However, um, I'm counting on Kavanaugh and Clarence Thomas to use their influence. I was surprised that allowing marijuana users to own guns passed 6-3, which meant one of the libtards actually voted for it. All right, guys, it's about that time now. We're going to end the stream. Thank you all for joining. I know it's been a couple weeks since we did this. Thank you all so much for your support. For those that are new here, please hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. And sorry for the people that just joined now. We do this stream every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern and every Saturday at 12 noon. And we will be ending it now. Thank you so much. Have a good one. And again, thanks to Duke and for helping me moderate. Wouldn't be able to do it without you. Thank you, guys.